Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel, All That Jazz. So if you are here, I hope you watched episodes 1, 2, and 3 of my Stranger Things Season 5 rewrite. Before I get into this episode, I just want to give a few little notes for this episode. So the only thing that I'm doing to this episode is doing a few dialogue changes, and I'm also going to add 2 or 3 scenes. Other than that, I really don't think there was anything wrong with this episode. This was my favorite episode of the season, and I think the best episode of the season. So I'm not going to do much here. And then I'm also going to try to incorporate some text-to-speech voiceover, so you won't hear my voice doing all of the dialogue. You will hear some of the text-to-speech options that I made myself just to see how it sounds. So let's get into it. Episode 4, The Sorcerer. This episode begins with Joyce, Will, Erica, Robin, and the Turnbows inside of the barn, and Joyce is talking to Derek and trying to get him to understand that the monster is coming for him and they're trying to save him, and he says fuck that, knocks her over, and tries to escape the barn himself. We also have the Demogorgon coming into the barn. Dustin, Steve, Nancy, and Jonathan are in the car, and they end up running over the Demogorgon before the Demogorgon is able to run off and make a gate into the tower, going back into the upside down. After that scene, Will has a vision. This is the only part here that I want to do a slight change. We see the upside down through the Demogorgon's point of view. A red heat signature lens low to the ground, tearing through the tower with animal precision. Steel screams, concrete shatters, the hunt is relentless. The vision pulls deeper. Will sees the spires, Holly, Derek, and the other kids suspended, vines pulsing, bodies connected to the living structure. This is where Vecna keeps them. But then something changes. The red fog parts. Will is no longer just watching, and he's not looking through the Demogorgon's POV. He is standing. He's in the abyss, alone, and the Mind Flayer is there. So close, its shadow completely swallows him. There is no Vecna in sight, only him and the Mind Flayer. The air vibrates, and we hear a low echo that sounds like it's coming from the earth itself. It's the Mind Flayer, and it's speaking to Will. And it speaks the exact words we heard Vecna once say to Will. We are going to do such beautiful things together, William. Such beautiful things. Will's eyes snap back open. He's back in the bar, gasping. Joyce clutching him, terrified. We now cut to the opening credits. After the credits, we can keep the same scene. The net tightens, the military moves fast, they go to Debbie Miller's house, Holly's classmate, and one by one, the children are taken from their homes, loaded onto buses, and escorted to the Max Z, treated not like kids, but assets. Inside the upside down, Steve crashes his car into the wall, metal screaming as it slams into the living flesh. We go back to the barn and Will begins drawing. The spires, the structure, the layout. He explains what he saw and where Vecna is keeping the children. But he does not tell anyone about the Mind Flayer and him standing before it. That vision he keeps to himself. The next scene, we're back inside the upside down base, and Dr. K, Sullivan, and Ramirez are talking. Dr. K is speaking with them, and she is still blaming 11 for the attacks and the kidnapped children. After that, we have a moment between Dr. K and Ramirez where he's questioning her using the children as bait and how that's not right, and Dr. K pretty much telling him if they do their job, the kids will be fine. We can keep that the same. The following scene is between Holly and Max when she's cleaning Holly's wound in the woods. This is the dialogue that I do want to change. And I'm only switching up the dialogue slightly, but the reason behind me switching up this dialogue is number one, so it can fit into my rewrite, and also number two, I really didn't think the kids were, I don't know, it was something about like Holly and her friends being 11, 12 years old, and they were easily manipulated by Henry. You're in this house, no adults, no anything. The same monsters who Henry told you were coming to get you were the same monsters who kidnapped you and took you from your homes. And none of you thought there was not anything wrong with Henry or the situation. So yeah, I'm just going to change some slight dialogue with Holly, because at this point, with her experiencing the clock chimes in the house and the attic and having those moments with hearing the screams behind the door, Holly would have some sense of discomfort and some sense of wariness in believing Henry is who he says he is.
I'm sorry for scaring you. I haven't seen anyone in a really long time, so I guess I got excited. Good news is it doesn't look that deep. Not enough for stitches. I bet it stings, though, huh? You can talk to me, you know. I won't bite. You do remember me, right? I've been to your house. Like a lot.
You're Max Mayfield. You skateboard and never take off your Walkman.
That's me.
But
how am I in here when I'm in a coma in Hawkins General? That's a very reasonable question. Branch cracks. We should get going. It's not safe here. Come on.
Wait, I'm not supposed to leave the X. Holly pulls the note from her pocket, looking between the map and Max's face. This note, it says Henry at the bottom, but the handwriting, it looks just like the letter you wrote Mike. You howl before your coma.
Pauses, a look of realization hitting her. You read my letter and remember the writing?
Yes, I go through all of Mike's things and I remember everything. I remember the bell ringing at the house. No one was there, but this map was. And the clock. Something is off with this place, Max. I have a feeling it's all Henry.
Softly. You're smarter than I gave you credit for, Holly.
Backing away slightly. It was you, wasn't it? You rang the bell, you left the map, you lured me here.
I had to. I didn't have a choice.
Why? Because you're one of them, aren't you?
One of what?
The monsters. I think you're in disguise. You're dressed weird, you're in a coma.
Still suspicious. Okay. Well, would a monster know that your brother tried to get a mohawk until your sister stopped him, saving him from possibly the greatest social humiliation that a freshman has ever experienced at Hawkins High?
What color was this mohawk?
Hot orange. And personally, I think the use of the word hot is a bit ironic, but people say I'm too negative. I just think I'm honest. Ethereal music playing as Max leads her toward the view. Come on, welcome. Hey, it even comes with a view.
Looking out at the fractured landscape, where are we?
In a memory, which exists inside a world of 1,000 memories. I know it might look nice, but it's not. This place, this world, it's a prison. Music becomes unsettling. Henry's prison.
Following this scene, we have the children and the bus is arriving to the Maxie compound. We have Erica on the tower and she's giving the gang the update on what's going on and what bunker the kids will be kept in. We also see the scene between the gang going over their plan in order to get inside of Maxie, and Robin starts talking about Tom, Dick, and Harry. Now, I saw a lot of people complain about this whole Tom, Dick, and Harry and the hit the dick moment in this episode, and I will be honest, I haven't seen The Great Escape, so Robin did teach me about where Tom, Dick, and Harry came from, because I've always heard the three in sayings, but I never know what it was, so it was actually nice to know where that actually came from, so we can keep that the same. And then we have the scene where Mike is telling them in order to be able to get inside of this base, they need to have someone who can infiltrate it, and everyone looks over at Derek. We can keep that the same. After this, I want to add an additional scene. And the scene I want to add is a moment between Joyce and Derek. I thought her being the one to give him the delightful Derek name was so cute that I felt like it would have been even better had they had a moment between the two where Derek is finally around adults and people who treat him with kindness, and that is what starts leading him down this Derek the Delightful path and out of this dipshit Derek era of his. So that is why I'm adding this scene here.
Handing over a worn metal lunchbox to Derek, her fingers lingering on the handle. So, you're a friend of Holly's?
Not really. I don't have many friends. I never have. People mostly just stay out of my way.
My son didn't have many friends either. Not for a long time. People called him names, Derek, mean names. But do you know what helped him?
Shaking his head, no.
He started being himself. Just unapologetically Will. That's how he found Mike and Lucas and Dustin. It wasn't about being the loudest or the toughest. It was about being the kindest. Maybe you should try being yourself?
A flicker of sadness crosses his face. I don't think people like myself. I've spent so much time being the bully everyone is afraid of because it's easier than being the boy everyone ignores. If I'm just dipshit Derek, I'm seen.
She steps closer, her voice dropping to that fierce maternal whisper she uses when she's protecting her own. We're all scared, Derek, and we have all had bad moments. Every single person in this room. Being bad doesn't make you a dipshit. It makes you human. And the fact that you're standing here and willing to help Holly and the rest of your classmates tells me you're a brave boy.
He looks up at her, eyes shimmering. You really think I can do this?
She reaches out and firmly pats his shoulder, a small, proud smile on her face. I don't think it. I know it. I believe in you, Derek. More than that, I trust you.
He stands a little straighter, gripping the lunchbox handle. Thank you, Mrs. Byers.
She gives his collar one last celebratory tug. Don't mention it. Now, no more dipshit Derek, okay? From here on out, in this room and in this gang, you're delightful Derek.
A genuine, slightly embarrassed grin breaks across his face. Delightful Derek. Yeah, I like the sound of that.
Good. Now go. We're all counting on you.
From here, we will go back to Hopper and 11 inside the Upside Down. She's trying to convince him to let her jump so they can get inside of this makeshift lab that's inside the Upside Down. They are cut off by Dustin. They're finally able to reach one another, and Dustin is letting them know that him, Nancy, Jonathan, and Steve are also inside the Upside Down, and he wants them to meet them at the Roan Cemetery so 11 can get Steve's car out of the wall. That can stay the same, and then Hopper eventually agreeing for 11 to do the jump so they can get inside the base. That can stay the same. The scene after is Max and Holly. Max is going over the gates, how she got into the coma, everything that happened, and then her sharing her experience inside of Henry's memories. What I would add here, when she is going through her experience, some of these scenes I wish that they were showing her actually inside of more of his memories. So for example, when she is talking, I would have loved to have seen Max being inside of the auditorium the night of Joyce's play versus in the finale when her, 11, and Callie and Max are all, they go to this memory. We're all like, wait, what the hell is this? I would have liked if they incorporated this memory as Max was talking to Holly. So that would be the one thing that I change here. And then from this scene, we have Derek, who makes it to Max Z, and he is able to get inside the base, and they put him with the other kids inside the bunker. I want to add an additional scene after this scene. So the scene I want to add is going to be between Lieutenant Sullivan and Ramirez. If there is one character who I felt like was the only one on the military side that had common sense, it was Ramirez. He seemed like he never was on the side of Dr. K, and he was always questioning her moves and what it was she was doing. So I want to add an additional scene between Ramirez and Dr. Sullivan, and him basically trying to put it out there that something is wrong and he doesn't believe what Dr. K is feeding them.
Lieutenant, permission to speak freely?
Without looking up. If it's about the perimeter shift, Sergeant, it's already been signed off.
It's about the children, sir. Dr. K is using them as bait. I've seen some things in the service, but the look in those kids' eyes, it isn't right. None of this is okay.
Finally looking up, his face a mask of cold discipline. Dr. K has her orders, Sergeant, and we have ours, the girl 11. She started this. These children are the only lead we have to her location.
With all due respect, sir, it doesn't make sense. Her being the attacker doesn't make sense. Why would this girl attack the same family who took her in and who we believe has aided her before? We're chasing a ghost while a monster is building an army right under our boots.
His jaw tightens. The girl is the source. Dr. Brenner's files were clear. Stepping closer, lowering his voice. Brenner is a mad scientist who would do anything to get his hands on the girl. Dr. K is a zealot who's being controlled by him. If we keep following her down this hole, she's going to be the death of every man in this unit, including you, sir. A long silence. You're out of line, Sergeant. Get back to your post.
Saluting stiffly, his face grim. Yes, sir, but when she sacrifices all of us all for one girl, remember I tried to tell you.
So, with the changes that I've made thus far, this would be about 35 minutes or so into this episode. From here, everything will stay the exact same. The only other two things that I would switch, so number one would be when it's Max and Holly and they go back to them, and then Max is telling her about her experience again inside of Henry's mindscape, and then they're showing quick snippets of Max from season 4 and then her almost making it to her portal. Again, I would have liked to have seen more of those flashbacks and even incorporating things that we didn't see before. So I did like the initial clip that they showed of her and Mike in class and the blood coming out of her nose and her confirming this was at the first point where Vecna cursed her. I would have liked to have seen even more moments that we had no idea that Vecna was watching or Vecna was around. I would have liked to have seen more moments there, but otherwise everything stays the same. We will still have 11 and Hopper making their way into the makeshift lab. Dustin, Steve, Nancy, and Jonathan all making their way to the Hawkins lab. All of that will stay the same. The other gang, they're doing their hit the dick, all of that stuff will stay the same, with Derek eventually leading all the kids he could to the bathroom so they can go through the tunnels to get to safety. All of that would stay the same. The fight inside the makeshift lab between Hopper, the other military men, Dr. K, and 11, and eventually they do end up knocking Dr. K out, and he is able to get inside of this vault, and they see that it's Callie. All of that will stay the same. The same thing that's happening in Max Z with the Demogorgons coming out of the ground, and they are completely annihilating the military men up until the point where Vecna comes out of the Upside Down himself and finishes off everybody else. That stays the same. Now here is where I want to make my last change. Before Vecna is able to even talk to Will, Joyce stands up and stands in between him and Will, and Vecna tosses her aside. This is the scene where I want to change. I just want to do some dialogue switches to this. We see Vecna kill the last alive military man on the ground, and it just so happens to be Sergeant Ramirez. When he gets done, he looks around, scoping the scene, looking for Will Byers himself. He sees Will and Joyce hiding behind the military truck. He flips it and casts it aside, and Joyce stands, running towards Vecna, raging. She then screams to him,
"Stay away from him! You stay away!"
He stops, he looks at her, and with his cold, menacing voice, he says, "I told you once before to do whatever it takes to protect the ones you love, Joyce. Do you understand now?" Vecna doesn't even move his feet. One flick of his hand, Joyce is lifted off the ground by an invisible force and thrown feet to the left. She hits the rusted metal undercarriage of the flipped military truck with a hollow metal crunch. After this slight change, I would keep everything the same to the end of the episode. So Vecna would give Will the same speech about why it was he chose kids, them being easily shaped, them being the best vessels. That would stay the same, and then we see the Demogorgons taking the rest of the kids and continuing his plan. After he is done with that monologue and casts Will aside and goes back into the Upside Down, we would keep the same scene of the flashback of showing a younger Will and him first meeting Mike, and then showing the scene that is a callback to season 2 with them giving Will all of these memories that they had, and that is what helped Will defeat the Mind Flayer. Then that will stay the same, and then Will gets his powers. He attacks all the Demogorgons, and then he is able to save his friends at least, but the kids are successfully kidnapped, and then the end of the episode is Will to his knees wiping the blood from his nose. So that is my rewrite for Stranger Things The Sorcerer episode 4. I can't wait to dive into episodes 5 through 8. I've already have specific ideas and things that I want to do, but number 1, I think I want to go back to incorporating Vecna using his ability to manipulate with illusion and scare the other kids. So like someone like Dustin, who hasn't experienced Vecna in that way, someone like Lucas who hasn't experienced Vecna in that way. I want to use some of those things, because if I feel like there is one thing Stranger Things 5 did with Vecna, is they made him so unscary compared to how scary he felt in season 4. So I most definitely want to incorporate some of those things in the next few episodes. And like I told you guys before, the epilogue will not be in the finale episode. I'm going to do a separate episode for that, and I also am going to split up the 2 fights. So I don't want to have the mind battle with 11 and Callie inside of the mindscape trying to kill Vecna. I'm not going to have that going on at the same time as the fight with the Mind Flayer. I think I'm going to separate the Mindscape fight in episode 7, and then have episode 8 be like Game of Thrones style, where the whole episode is going to be this final battle with Vecna and the Mind Flayer, but in the abyss, not at the same time in the mind and outside the mind. Okay, so if you guys are enjoying my rewrite content, please like, comment, and subscribe. Until the next video, stay curious and stay out the upside down. I'll see you on the next one, guys.